What's up, and welcome to another edition of the Cover 2 Recap. I'm BruinsSportsport.com publisher Edward Lewis. As always, this is Ryan Karchi, the UCLA beat writer for the OC Register. Tonight, we're coming at you from the field at AT&T Stadium, of a very big AT&T Stadium, where UCLA just actually won a very big football game. Ryan, no starting quarterback, no starting safeties. Their left tackle goes out for a while. Their best cornerback goes out for a while. It's probably 80-90% Texas fans in here on the road. I mean, just the outcome of this game was just shocking, considering all those facts. Tell me about kind of the win and what you thought of it all.
Like you said, I think this was a defining moment in terms of UCLA's resiliency. I mean, you talk about through 3 games, they've kind of just barely made it through all 3 of them. I mean, they easily could have lost any of those 3. But in this one, you really saw a resiliency that I feel like you didn't necessarily see in the other ones. In the other ones, it seemed like they were clearly the better team, but they were just holding on, and you know, they were kind of cruising towards the end, and they just barely won. With this one, they really fought for this one. You could tell, you know, after the first half, you know, in the second quarter, I think their offense had 36 yards. In that second half, the run game was better. The offensive line was better. Jerry Neuheisel, a backup quarterback barely capable of throwing down the field, all of a sudden looked like the exact game manager that they needed at the exact right time. I mean, I think Jerry said it best. You couldn't write a script that was better than this. And for UCLA, you know, you look at this and maybe the outside world thinks, you know, this is a win over a Texas team that doesn't really mean that much. This team isn't very good. But at the same time, I think it meant a lot to the players and to the coaches of this UCLA team that they could win against, like you said, all of those odds that were put against them.
I was going to say that. You know, the outside world is going to say, well, you're the number 12 team in the country and you beat a Texas team that lost by 50 to BYU. But, man, if you were in this building and you saw the odds that they had to overcome, it's truly an incredible win. Now, Ryan, we have to get into Brett Hundley's injury. You know, as all the celebration kind of calms down, you realize, okay, the starting quarterback and Heisman Trophy candidate is actually injured. He hurt his elbow. We don't really know the severity of it. Jim Moore kind of went in the press conference, was real coy, which kind of threw us all off. We all thought it was kind of not very serious, just something he needed to rest tonight and whatnot. But Jim was pretty coy about it. Tell me what your thoughts are on that shoulder or on the elbow injury and what you think goes on from here.
Well, I know Bruce Feldman reported, I think even before Jim's press conference, that Brett Hundley's injury isn't viewed as serious, just a slight hyperextension. But at this point, I think they're going to be very secretive. They're going to be very quiet about everything. Not sure how much we'll know this week, especially given the fact that it's a bye. So I'm not sure you really even want to throw Brett Hundley out there this whole week. Just kind of let him, you know, get back to full health and return next week, ready for practice probably on Sunday, leading up to Thursday's game against Arizona State. But if they don't have Brett Hundley, I know it's a great story, Jerry Neuheisel, what he did today, and we should never take away from that. But they're going to need Brett Hundley against Arizona State. I know Taylor Kelly was also here tonight, Arizona State's quarterback. But without Brett Hundley, this team isn't going to be able to keep going at the same pace that it was up against today. So at this point, we'll be monitoring that closely, but I wouldn't expect anything beyond, you know, him missing a week of practice.
For what it's worth, he had a big ice pack and a big wrap on his arm, and he was able to move it fine. He was rubbing it fine. He was squeezing his hand fine. So it doesn't seem like it'd be a break or any huge kind of tear or something. You think if it was something bigger or badder than that, he would be out and there'd be kind of a sling kind of elbow thing. So we don't think it's going to be too serious, but again, MRI is scheduled for Sunday or Monday, and then we'll go from there. Getting into 2 guys that we need to talk about tonight, Paul Perkins, number 1, and Jerry Neuheisel, obviously probably is number 1 more so than Paul. But those 2 guys, man, tell me about their night tonight and how it really affected the outcome of this game, maybe even the Bruins season.
Well, no one's going to look at Jerry Neuheisel's stat line and think, you know, that guy's an all Pac-12 player. He's 23 of 30, which is good, 178 yards and 2 touchdowns. But it was the way they called the plays around him that changed. I know they went to a little bit more or simpler of a game plan. They threw shorter passes. They used a lot of their screen game, which Texas had a lot of issue dealing with. I'm not sure why it took them so long to kind of adjust to that, but they never really did adjust. And Jerry, you know, all the credit, like I said, he's not exactly an accomplished downfield passer. But on that last play, you know, first play of their final drive, they're down. They call a great play, first of all, Noam Mazzoni with a great call on that. Neuheisel pump fakes, Jordan Payton on the outside, double moves, and Jerry just delivered a perfect pass, literally exactly what you want in that situation, 32 yards down the field for a touchdown. I mean, when the lights are brightest, you can't say much more about a play like that. And for Jerry Neuheisel, it was clear. All of his teammates were very happy for him. They said they had confidence in him all along. I'm not sure all the fans had the same amount of confidence, but you have to tip your cap to Jerry Neuheisel after a night like tonight.
Paul Perkins putting up combined 200 yards, total offense, just monster game. First half didn't really do a whole lot, and then came out with that 58-yard run in the second half that really calmed down the team. Really kind of said, okay, we're okay without Brett. We can rely on Paul and do this all. So going on from here. They have ASU after a bye week. ASU's quarterback Taylor Kelly just got hurt, and it looks to be pretty serious. He might not play. Maybe Brett Hundley may not play. So everything kind of changes this next couple weeks. But tell me about where UCLA goes from here. 3-0, undefeated. What do you see? The UCLA looking like from here?
I know a lot of people from this game. They kind of thought, maybe this is the game where UCLA breaks through. Maybe they beat them by 3 touchdowns, and everyone feels better about it going into the Pac-12 season. I don't think that happened in the same way that people expected. But at the same time, I think something different happened in the way that, they fight through a game like this. Like I said, this game was different than the other two. They were in a hostile environment. They obviously, like you said, they were down pretty much half of their contributors on each side of the ball. So at this point, I think it does a lot for the mental state of this team. You go into the bye week knowing there's a ton of stuff to fix. They had way too many penalties. The offensive line came out pretty poorly in the first half. The run game didn't look great in the first half. Even Paul Perkins only had 9 rushing yards after the first half, which is ridiculous when you look at his line. I think he had something like 196 all-purpose yards, career high for him. But at this point, I think UCLA will come into the Arizona State game with a better mindset. And I don't know, maybe I'm crazy, but I would be more confident in UCLA after a game like this.
May not find a more mentally tough team in America. That'll do it for our coverage of UCLA versus Texas. As always, you can follow Ryan's coverage of the game and UCLA on Twitter at Ryan_Karchi. You can follow me on Twitter at EdwardLewisBSR. Until the next time, thanks for tuning in to the Cover 2 Recap.